are like, hey man, did you go to Coasterstock this weekend at Kings Island?
Yeah, man. Yeah, it was like far out and groovy. Yeah.
Oh, sweet. Welcome back to Beat the Beast, where news races the beast. Each and every week, we look at the latest news and trending social media topics and give our opinions of them, all before the beast hits the final brake run. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special topic for you once again. This week, it's all going to be about Kings Island. Coincidentally, finally, Beat the Beast is talking about Kings Island, and it's all about the latest enthusiast event that was held this past weekend at Kings Island. It's going to be all about Coasterstock 2015. I am, of course, Andy Barchek from Chicago, Illinois, joined here by my co-host, Dwain Sponseller from Parkersburg, West Virginia. So just to give you a recap, every week we look at a topic and we have 4 minutes and 10 seconds to cover that topic in its entirety. And that 4 minutes and 10 seconds represents the total runtime of the Beast roller coaster at Kings Island. So the first topic that we're going to discuss this evening is the overall Coasterstock event. So if we could start that clock on the screen. And there you have it. So, this is the first year ever for Coasterstock. Now, as many of you know, up north, Cedar Point's been doing Coastermania for years upon years. And Kings Island wanted to get in on the mix. And this year, they set up Coasterstock for all the enthusiasts and roller coaster club members. So, Dwain, why don't you give us a little rundown of what the event all had to do with?
Well, for anyone who's been to Coastermania, it was kind of similar, although the fact this time we actually had a 2-day event instead of just a 1-day event that we might be used to at a Coastermania. So it was kind of spread out. It had your typical Coastermania-esque type of day. You would have your morning ERT time. You were fed lunch or dinner. There were some contests throughout. Then there were some special events, some guest speakers along the way, some great exclusive events like behind-the-scenes tours of some of the coasters and great photo opportunities. We're going to be talking about that throughout this entire show today. And so really, Andy, when you think about this Coasterstock, you mentioned Coastermania and how it's been successful. And I think Kings Island trying to, get involved in that way with the coaster enthusiast community, because being in Cincinnati, they are so close to many big cities. There are a bunch of people in the southern part of Ohio, eastern parts of Kentucky, southern Indiana, even up by your place. It's only about a 4-hour drive. And so, by the end of it, we had over 550-some people at this Coasterstock event. So for that being the first year, I think that's a pretty good number. And the way things went, I can only see it growing in the near future.
And for sure, and the one thing that struck me about Coasterstock is we tried to figure it out at the park, like what is the benefit to the park? And I think in my own mind, I think it boils down to one thing, and it's a thank you to all the loyal fans of Kings Island and to roller coasters in general. That yes, there's a $20 or a $25 fee attached, but that doesn't even cover the cost of things like the free T-shirt, the free souvenir bottle, the lunches. So obviously that's not it. It's not a money-making endeavor. And I really wanted to send out a thank you to the entire Kings Island staff, specifically the PR department, specifically Don Helbig, because this was an event that they don't have to undertake. They don't have to put on Coasterstock. They've never put on Coasterstock. Coastermania up north is a huge event. Huge amounts of time and work go into that each and every year. And I think it's just awesome that Kings Island is willing to put in that time for the roller coaster clubs, for the enthusiasts, for the hardcore fans, because at the end of the day, they don't have to. They didn't have to put on this event. And there's really, besides general PR and general good feelings being created, there's not a whole lot that the park is getting out of it besides a lot of headaches and a lot of work. But they did it anyway, and they did it in a way that was a fantastic weekend for all involved. It was really amazing. I know you had a great time. I had a great time. And I'll tell you what, I didn't see many people not having a great time over this past weekend. So I think a huge thank you needs to go out to Kings Island, the PR staff, Don, and everyone else involved in Coasterstock, because we had a ton of fun. So I don't know if you have any final thoughts on that one.
Well, I mean, I'm going to express my sentiments too. Thank you to Don Helbig as well as the entire PR department, but also, Andy, just to the park in general, all the employees. I said it from the get-go, and Kings Island has been one of my home parks forever. They are the nicest group of employees of any park that I've ever been to. Friendly, they are great, and I know but I don't care that we got beat by the Beast, because I want to make sure that they get the recognition they deserve, because I mean, we're talking about trying to keep people happy. They had no complaints being there till midnight on Saturday night, no complaints being there at 7 o'clock in the morning the next morning, to make us feel welcome. And you mentioned all the things that we got, and we'll kind of talk about that here in the second part. But I think they went above and beyond what they had to do what you said was completely just thank us for being coaster enthusiasts and coming to the park and really trying to spread the message of how great parks like Kings Island can actually be.
Absolutely. So the next topic on our list is going to be the ERT. So once again, if we can start that clock at 4 minutes and 10 seconds. Now, the ERT is what brings the enthusiasts out for these events. That's usually the headliner. That's usually the huge selling point. This ERT sessions, was nothing to scoff at all. An added bonus was they also set up on Friday night a platinum/gold season pass holder night for Banshee and I believe Drop Tower and Delirium. So if you were going the entire weekend, you got an added bonus on Friday night being able to ride some of those rides. And then the next morning on Saturday, being able to ride Banshee. And I think that first morning of Coasterstock, there's a lot of excitement in the air. Banshee was the headliner of Kings Island for 2014. Some say it was the best new ride of 2014. But I was surprised at the amount of rides we got on Banshee. Man, did we have a great time.
I mean, we had an hour and a half to ride Banshee. I think they also opened Delirium and Drop Tower, and eventually I think Adventure Express opened up as well, as long as the pad. And what was interesting about this, we expected everybody to kind of flow towards Banshee and be there. But the station the line and the queue line, and then the eventual steps up to the station were completely empty. I mean, we could just ride and ride and ride and ride, and we could literally ride as much as we wanted to. And I think we got up to 10 or 11 rides, and we weren't even done with the hour and a half. We actually got kind of tired of riding it, so we wanted to go ride something else. Yeah. And so the ERT just on Banshee alone was fantastic. Not something that you would expect to do on a normal operating day, and that's what makes these events so great. And then I know that, to kind of move it forward here, on Saturday, the ERT ended, then the park opened up, and then so, of course, on a Saturday, the park gets kind of packed. And so I know you and we decided to go around and get some pictures and some video and stuff for our site, but ERT continued Saturday night. Now, we were interested to see what this was going to be like because we were dead tired. I know we've been up since we stayed all night Friday night. We got up early Saturday at 6 o'clock to get ready for the events and then to do the ERT. And so we actually went back to the hotel and got a break. But when we came back after dinner, we were really wondering what was ERT going to be like. And so the nighttime ERT was Diamondback and the Beast, and Vortex, and I think there was a half hour on back on Stunt Coaster. And I know you and I got to do Diamondback, and we got to marathon Diamondback, which of course, everyone knows, if you haven't figured this out by now, I have now finished or concluded my 800th ride on Diamondback. So big milestone for me. Andy was there with me to ride it, and what an excellent ride. We actually was riding it in the rain all night long, which made it even faster, in my opinion. Still one of my favorite coasters in my top 5, obviously. So continue on, Andy.
And those rides were pretty empty as well. So we got like you said, we got plenty of rides. Yes. And then Sunday it continued with, in the morning, Firehawk, Flight of Fear, and Racer. Once again, pretty much walk on, even for Firehawk, which is pretty unusual. And then we weren't able to actually stay for the evening ERT, but that was on Banshee, Diamondback, and Beast, so they opened up all the headliners. And I can only imagine, because I know a lot of people were talking about leaving that afternoon, so I can only imagine the number of people that were there for that evening ERT. So that must have been fantastic as well. So overall, what a great lineup of coasters for ERT. A successful lineup that, not having to wait in lines, being able to ride as much as you wanted, having them spaced out pretty nicely. So you didn't really have to make huge choices, throughout the day. There you go. But man, what a great lineup that we had. But moving on to the next topic, which is the other events that Coasterstock featured. So if we could put up that clock once more. And there we are, officially racing the beast. And, any good enthusiast event is not just about coasters. It's about other things that the park plans for you. And Coasterstock had its fair share of those things as well. On Saturday, the biggest event was Dennis Spiegel, who is a Kings Island expert and was involved in the planning of Kings Island and was involved in the old Coney Island and also involved in Kings Dominion. He gave a nice hour-long speech that you'll soon be able to see on our YouTube channel as well. That will be uploaded very soon, so you can see the speech in its entirety. And he basically went through the development of Coney Island and how it developed into Kings Island. And some really great insight was given, some really interesting stories. To be honest with you, I have not been a Kings Island expert or historian. You talk about Cedar Point with me and I can talk your ear off, but Kings Island has always been outside my realm of expertise. So to hear him talk for over an hour, I had no idea about the connection of Coney Island to Kings Island. I had no idea why the park was called Kings Island, that it was, a mix of the Kings Mill area with the old Coney Island Park. So I had no idea about this stuff and the impact that the racer had on the overall coaster landscape of the 70s. So when he was going through this, I was listening with bated breath. I was hanging on every single word, and I couldn't get more. And being that he's still involved in the industry, now setting up parks in other places like China and developing them and the science behind how to set up a good park and how to make people flow through your park. It was just completely fascinating to me from start to finish.
Yeah, and being one of my home parks, I knew a lot about it, but to sit down and actually see some of the old pictures and to see where it comes from, because believe it or not, when you look at the way Kings Island was set up, it is very reminiscent of the old Coney Island, that they wanted to make sure that they really instilled some of that old Coney Island feel into Kings Island. So when you walk Coney Mall, it's really designed after the old Coney Mall, old Coney Island down on the river there in Cincinnati. Of course, Coney Island's still around. It still exists. It kind of was not so much the same after the big floods there, in the middle of the part of our century. But I still think that the way that they went about this, a guest speaker who knows a lot about Kings Island, you're doing your first annual Coasterstock, you want to bring someone in who was a part of that, who helped design that. And, of course, he might be more known for his creation of Kings Dominion down in Doswell, Virginia. But just hearing the amount of places he's worked with, the amount of companies that he's worked with, he's got a wealth of knowledge being with all these different companies. And then talking about some of the things that he's doing overseas, the multi-billion-dollar places that he is going to be working with in the next few years. I mean, what type of job could be better than doing things like that. And so what a great event that was. I know there's some other exclusive events too. I know we went behind the scenes of Banshee, of Diamondback. We got a behind-the-scenes tour. We also got a behind-the-scenes tour of the Beast, and got to go all the way down towards the Helix and things like that for photo opportunities, things that you would normally get at a coaster event like this. But by far the best thing was that speech. And it gets even better, Mr. Robarczyk.
Oh, yeah.
It gets even better.
It does. Well, before we get to the better part, the one last event that we did have was the backstage tour of the train as well, that Don gave a whole presentation on how the train works and that kind of stuff as well. So overall, what a great collection of different things for enthusiasts to listen to. But moving into our last topic, which I think may be the most interesting topic of the evening, if we could put that 4 minutes and 10 seconds on the clock. And there we have it. The last topic is the park president got up before the speech by Spiegel, Mr. Scheid, and Mr. Scheid was talking about some future trips that he's going to be taking. He mentioned maybe going down to Holiday World to ride Thunderbird, and then he mentioned maybe going to California's Great America to ride Gold Striker, and then he finally mentioned that he would also be taking a trip out to Knott's Berry Farm to ride the Iron Reef Dark Ride. And people started looking at each other around the room like, I wonder why he's mentioning these three rides. Well, I think he's obviously hinting at something, maybe something down the line in the future as to what Kings Island's going to get, maybe all three, who knows. But I think it's very interesting that he chose those three rides because it may be a hint towards the future of Kings Island. Dwayne, what do you think?
Well, you were sitting across from me filming, and right when he said the first thing about Thunderbird, I immediately looked at you, and because we always wonder at these events, are we going to get some kind of clue? I know it's happened to you at Cedar Point before when you go to these events, and they sometimes will kind of say some corny jokes or something, and you have to kind of pick up on it. This wasn't corny at all. This was kind of straightforward.
Yeah.
And of course, we know that every park in in Cedar Fair is going to be getting a dark ride like the one at Knott's, like the one up in Canada. So we know we're going to get that eventually. If I were to be a betting man and I were in Vegas right now, I would put money down on the next thing that Kings Island is going to get is probably that dark ride. I know we've talked about this before, but I think they even had the building ready for it. We were out there right beside the old Crypt building, and they have that concrete that's already poured to the west of that towards the Beast. And kind of in between the Beast and Diamondback there. And I say they could just build right onto that building and make it big enough because it's already tall enough. We know that used to have the crypt, and I just don't think the building is tall enough for the ride itself right now. But if they move it out a little bit, I can really see where that could be a dark ride of the future. I would probably go out on a limb and say that we're not going to see another launch B&M wing coaster. Maybe, but I don't think so at Kings Island. I don't see that. And do I see another wooden coaster like Gold Striker coming to Kings Island? I don't know, because you and I saw the land that they have out past Banshee. But what really could go there? I don't see – you mentioned something that wouldn't be fun if we saw a Daughter of the Beast.
Yeah.
Right? But I don't know. I don't know, so go ahead.
The thing with me is I can see all three of them. Like, I don't think we're going to get a coaster next year. I think the dark ride seems to be most probable next in line for the Cedar Fair chain. But the entrance definitely needs an update for Kings Island, so I could definitely see maybe a wing rider going over the entrance. Yeah. I don't know if it's launched or not. Maybe they do a wooden coaster over the entrance. Kings Island is known for its wood coasters. That you go back to the speech and you hear how influential Racer was. You know how influential and legendary the Beast is. So why not integrate that wood coaster into your entrance? And now your entrance is a wood coaster, and you have to walk into the wood coaster to actually start your day. I don't know. It sounds almost perfect to me. But they also do have enough land for GCI out by Banshee, that we know that Son of Beast only took up half the area or Banshee only takes up half the area of Son of Beast does. So there's plenty of room out there. I mean, we already saw some of the clearing happening, that they're definitely cleared it, and it's still clear for the most part. There you have it. But just to continue, I think a wood coaster entrance would be different enough for Cedar Fair. We've seen the flyover. We've seen the dive under. Why don't we see the wood walkthrough? Let's do it. Let's do a wood walkthrough. Someone should be paying me their marketing
you mentioned
fees.
it. Well, yeah, but you mentioned how it would be interesting we see that go over and under. Now we need it to go through.
Yeah.
We talked about how iconic the restaurant is.
Uh-huh.
Keep the restaurant there, okay, but renovate it to make that entrance and make it to where maybe if you're sitting in the restaurant that you could see it go through there.
Yeah.
Or how about going back to your old sentimental favorite, a launched wooden wing coaster?
Oh, a launched Woody coaster?
Right?
RMC
did mention a
is
bunch of
talking
things.
about it. So RMC's talking about a launched wood coaster, so it's not completely out of the realm of possibility. But I think that's all the time we have for this evening on Beat the Beast. I know we've thrown a lot out at you, so if you have comments or questions, make sure you throw them into our comment section, and we will definitely be talking about this on the forums as well. So make sure you join the COASTER.net forums to continue the discussion of what Kings Island's going to get. And you know what, Dwayne, I know you don't do it, but I'm feeling that maybe a 5-year plan show for COASTER.net Uncut might be in order with some of the ideas that we've come up here with this evening. So I'm thinking that these ideas might be explained in a future episode of COASTER.net Uncut. As always, if you love COASTER.net and you love our YouTube channel, COASTER.net TV, please subscribe. That is the best way to get all the latest and greatest information about what we're doing on this station. We have a ton of videos. Like I said, the Dennis Spiegel interview is going to be up pretty soon, and if it's already not up. So the only way to find out about such things is to get those daily emails and the updates on your subscriptions. So please, please, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and sign up for our forums to continue the discussion. As always, I am Andy Robarczyk from Chicago, Illinois.
And I'm Dwayne Sponseller from Parkersburg, West Virginia. A wonderful time had by all at Coasterstock. Can't wait to see it again next year, and a great time. We got to meet some great people as well, and can't wait to continue to ride with them in the future. So once again, I'm Dwayne Sponseller from Parkersburg, West Virginia, and as always, may the queue lines be ever in your favor.
And ride on, Ride Warriors.